Universal Studios is my first love. No other interest or fandom even comes close. And it's a very exciting time to be a Universal Parks fan, with a new gate opening this year. But frankly, it's quite hard to contend with the fact that Universal Studios Orlando is very bad. What do I mean by this? I mean that the original park is a shadow of its former self.
It has now become known as the scene of the crime.
The Mummy is gorgeous, The Simpsons is a guilty pleasure, Men in Black Alien Attack is the best ride of its kind, E.T., long live E.T., and long live, the original premise of the park. A seemingly miracle company with genius creatives. It's very strange that my childhood park is embarrassing on the surface. So I put together something, a real pie-in-the-sky thing. If I had no limits, if I got completely my own way, what would the original Universal Studios Florida look like? Here's a park map. Let's go bit by bit, and I will guide you through my dream, no-holds-barred Universal Studios. What is Universal Studios about? To me, it's still Ride the Movies. I think the original concept is what made me fall in love with film as a kid. I didn't know what Twisters was. I didn't know what Jaws was. The Mummy, King Kong, Ghostbusters, Blues Brothers. I think that this park is what introduced me to the vast majority. It gave even Alfred Hitchcock a sort of mystique to him that I would reach later in life. IP stuff rules the roost, and this park is going to reflect that in part. There's not so much in the way of original rides here. I am going to be using the Universal catalogue of IP. But I still want to balance it. I want to respect the original vision, and I think you can truly make kids care about classic film, or really something they've never even seen before because you're a theme park. Disney and Universal don't always realize the power they have as a recruitment tool. If I go see a funny show on my magical best day of my life as a 10-year-old, and I go see the Muppets, I don't know who the Muppets are. I'm a 10-year-old Brit. Doesn't matter, you've now got a convert, and I can confirm you've got a Muppet fan for life now. And that was my introduction to them. So as we go through their gorgeous entrance, you're going to see in the skyline the Empire State Building with King Kong hanging off the side. In late stage capitalism, we seem to have forgotten the value of something that is timeless. That is an iconic image, and it's always going to be an iconic image. And even if there's not a King Kong movie currently out in theatres making the box office numbers, it doesn't matter. You might be surprised to which rides I'm keeping and which ones I'm begrudgingly getting rid of, but there's a real blend. I want this park to be evergreen. I want it to represent all of film. There's a lot of decades of film. Not all of them have a IP in cinemas right now. And that's okay, because this is a thought exercise. I'm gonna walk the line, because immediately as you enter the park, to your left is The Secret Life of Pets and Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. It doesn't actually have to be Minion Mayhem, we can make a new ride. Doesn't matter, I want to create a cityscape facade. So we have Gru's house alongside some New York buildings as we enter New York City. But without Rip Ride Rockit, which I'm fucking thrilled is going to be teared out soon, we've got a lot of space to work with. Secret Life of Pets in Hollywood does not take up a big footprint. It's quite compact. Even if we have to make it smaller, there's space there to fit it in. I truly believe that. I'm not a designer and I don't have blueprints, but I'm going by the strict science of eyeballing it. I think kids should be rewarded. I think they should be the most excited when they step into a theme park, and boom, right in your face is the most marketable thing Universal has outside of Harry Potter. You get Minions. What a wonderful start to the day. It's hardly a favourite. It's not the best thing in the world, but maybe with a new ride in that plot of land, we could get a good sense of balance. On your right, back where Shrek used to be, current site of VillainCon, is a Ghostbusters attraction. It's staggering to me that Ghostbusters does not have any presence in the park in any meaningful way outside of gift shops. What happened here? Legally, it's a Sony situation, it's all very boring, but in recent years, Universal had a Ghostbusters house at Halloween Horror Nights, and it's sick. It's the best house I think they've ever put together, and it wasn't out and out terrifying. Tonally, a family could maybe walk through it. So I insist, let's do a year-round permanent scarehouse. That plot of land is massive. They already use it for horror maze stuff when it comes around to October, so boom. At this point, you're seeing a lot of tall structures. You can see a very big roller coaster to your left. You can see King Kong ahead of you doing his thing. There's a big drive-through movie screen. And what I want to do here is use this event space. I've never seen it get used. And I'm gonna make it like a museum spot. I'm gonna have like a bunch of classic Hollywood cars on the screen playing a classical film from the Universal catalog in black and white. It's a drive-in. The restaurant right behind it is gonna be a diner. When I went to Hollywood, they still had the American Graffiti themed restaurant. And I think that's perfect. It makes the cars next door make more sense. It can tie into that thematically. You don't get too much in the way of diners, I guess, in New York, so maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but this is what I want to do with a restaurant space, okay? The outdoor museum of classic vintage movie cars is just a different kind of attraction that I think is kind of neat. Alright, let's look at the big ride then. What's replacing the old Nickelodeon lot? What's replacing Rip Ride Rockit, the biggest, crappiest roller coaster on site? This is an original creation. Yay! You're gonna love this. Fans have theorized massively about what would do best here. Back to the Future roller coaster. I like that. Fast and Furious, maybe that's that spot. Maybe. My idea is a generic roller coaster. This is a roller coaster devoted to all of film. The ride system that I hope for is just, what's that they got at Plopsaland? The Ride to Happiness. This spinning coaster is considered by many to be the best coaster in the world. It seems so fun. I look at the track layout, I look at everything you need, and I'm just obsessed with this idea. On a track that looks like a reel of film, as screens surround you, maybe like a continuous stream of screen follows the track, playing a montage of classic films, and you could use sound clips from the Universal Archive that could describe what the ride itself is doing. To a gorgeous new piece of score, John Williams, hook us up, and then that could just stay there till the end of time. And I think people would be quite happy. Universal Studios does not have an outdoor roller coaster. Rip Ride Rockit was always out of place. It was always an industry disaster. I cannot wait for the next thing, and this is my best case scenario. Ride system first, original concept first. The mantra of the park is going to be in this signature attraction. And also, it's massive, so it's going to probably match the skyline along with King Kong. It's about movie appreciation. It's about inoculating kids with a deep love of art and cinema and how fun that can be as well. If you want defying gravity on that drop, have at it. Going ahead. Sorry, I'm just assuming this is the way you want to get through Universal Studios. There's different ways around the lake. We come to the big guy himself. I know that King Kong has representation in Islands of Adventure, but it's a very different kind of Kong. That's franchise Kong. That's corporate synergy Kong. I want a timeless image. And also, there's not much more space to work with. Rip Ride Rockit's a big ride, don't get me wrong, but putting in this much is clogging up that side of the park a fair bit. I think we can get around this by making King Kong, Empire State Building, Adventure, a drop tower. A drop tower that opens up and reveals a giant King Kong attached to the building. Perfect placement to give you the best view of the park possible. This is what dreams are made of. Is this actually enough space for a ride like this? Or you would think that building vertically would help, but you guys will have to tell me. Even in my dream hypothetical, I will take constructive criticism, it seems. Hey, yeah, on the right, I've left Optimus Prime intact. Transformers the ride is still there. Maybe let's fix the facade so that Optimus Prime and the giant steel bunker doesn't ruin the sightlines of the whole park. I like him up there. I think it's harmless. I think it's a good ride. Listen, although we've got some old IP in here, I don't want to make it like a film studies course. We've got some trashier stuff in here too for the crowds. Transformers isn't going anywhere, and I think it has long earned its keep. And looking ahead, why would I touch the Mummy? The Smithsonian stands. This indoor dark ride haunted house roller coaster is perfect. I think most would argue that it hasn't aged a day, and that's really exciting. Would I retheme it to old Universal? I don't know, see, that's something I ran into. I actually put Dracula here, as you can see, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be fun if it was like a double feature, where off-season it's Dracula and on-season it's Mummy. I think that's a bit wanky now I say it out loud. Let's just keep it as is, Brendan Fraser and all. But isn't the Mummy really outdated? Yeah, and so is Men in Black. But at the same time, the only reason that rides get outdated is because Universal and Disney set the precedent. They said that Jaws could become outdated. They said that Twister was too old a movie to deserve presence in their park. Back to the Future was too old-fashioned for these people, which is nuts, because that's the film, right? That's the film that cannot age. It's like a time capsule of the 80s. The whole park needs to embrace that. Men in Black could possibly be in this park. The 2000s Mummy could be in this park because that's all film history, and that's just not a priority of this place. But yeah, I never really got over them removing Back to the Future and Jaws. I'm that kind of Universal fan. And this becomes doubly obvious when you continue your approach to the lake. And what's in this space? This is where Fast and Furious currently stands. It's a big, big building. Obviously, we've ripped it out. And I've put in, I think, 3 things. Oh my god, that's a lot. That's ambitious. The classic film love continues with the Bates Motel. I don't think, right, go with me here, I don't think there's anything in here. I think this is like just a facade and park management and operations taking back some space. Maybe this is where parades enter the park. You know, I don't care. I'm a big Hitchcock nerd, and it's absolutely alien to me that Hitchcock used to have a show at Universal Studios. We used to be a society. God damn, I would love a Psycho ride. Are you kidding me? That movie is already a theme park attraction. But no, I'm gonna be tasteful and keep it to the iconic image of the Bates Motel, because it's still such a gem of the Hollywood studio tour. Continuing on, this one's interesting. Beetlejuice. Another property that recently had a horror house at the Halloween events. And it had fantastic production design. You're getting some Tim Burton in the park, which I think is huge, and you're honouring the park's roots. Because Beetlejuice, it feels like his home is Universal Studios, you know? He's a day one settler. And now with the sequel that came out last year, it has objectively good appeal. I think it has good chances for getting a ride in the future, and I think you're kind of crazy if you're discounting it. Offhand, reception was positive. And the ride system I'm thinking for this, it could be a dark ride, but I think it'd be a lot more fun as a flume ride. An indoor dark/flume ride. There's no water rides in this park, at least. And maybe the premise is that you're going underneath the sewers of Universal Studios. If Beetlejuice doesn't work for you, then maybe they buy the rights to It. Stephen King's It, and you've got Pennywise down in the Universal Studios sewers. But it adds verticality, it adds dimension, that's the sort of thing a kid would enjoy. Not Pennywise, definitely more Beetlejuice. Right next to it, that's Twister, baby! It's going down, I'm yelling Twister! Again, another movie in theatres. It is just burned into my childhood. I truly do not understand why this ride was removed. Oh no, did it have a short wait time? No shit, it's one scene of practical effects magic. It's not meant to be an e-ticket. Much like monsters, much like dinosaurs, tornadoes are one of those self-explanatory concepts that is always going to appeal to a kid. Oh, there's a movie attached? Cool, that's secondary. I just pray that there's enough space here to house a show building. Glen Powell, hit me up. We are getting around this lake. And then this one's kind of interesting, because now we've come into London. We've done New York, we've done rural America. This is just a hard cut to London. But Sam, does that mean you're keeping Harry Potter? Yeah, I really surprised myself. I shocked myself, but Diagon Alley still takes up this part of the park. But right before that, the Hogwarts Express is gone. I don't need this. I think the queue and the train that takes you to Island of Adventure, I think it's a cool concept. I think it takes up too much space. Harry Potter must not dominate. It's welcome to Diagon Alley. It can have its ride as long as it pays itself and stays in its corner. Instead, I want to use this, well, it's not small. It's definitely not enough for a ride. I'm very much in the mood for more walkthrough entertainment. It's a bit of a theme here. I want this to be the World Showcase. I want to honour a lot of ideas that original park had, even if I move them around, even if I do them with different IPs. I think this small little building could be a perfect place for in-character meet and greets. I think Doc Brown, I think the Men in Black, I think it could be all sorts of stories happening around here. I think it should be a goldmine of film references and classic Universal references, maybe. There's a market for that. They tested it just recently. Let's have Jaws hanging up, captured. Let's have the DeLorean, maybe initiates a little story to the whole thing. You could put Megan in here. You could put the doll Megan in here as a side plot, and some men in suits neuralizing people. Just a real headcanon little box of treats. It's, at the very least, it's somewhere to get out of the sun. Talking about getting out of the sun, have you been to London lately? The Wizarding World of Harry Potter Diagon Alley. Let's leave it. You know what? Let's honestly just leave it. It's nuts that this place only has one ride, and it's not the strongest. But I honestly struggle to think of what I would even add as another attraction. I think they have gone to the Harry Potter well a lot of times, and they're really running out of ideas. The outside facade of London, a magical London that seems inconspicuous, before revealing Diagon Alley to you in the way it does, I think that's amazing. I was kind of blown away by it. The fact that there's enough space back here to go down back alleys and discover secret places you're not meant to find, it adds to that verticality and that explore element that kids need. Live entertainment, loads of fucking merch, some restaurants finally. I'm lacking a bit on the restaurants, I have to admit. Yeah, I'm fine with Harry Potter having a little hub in a film that is about film history. Fair enough. The first time I mocked up a park map, I actually had a question mark over this. I didn't know what to do with it. At one point I thought it would be the best time to reincorporate Gotham. I think one of Universal's original plans involved Batman in a big way. But now it just doesn't feel right, I don't think. At the very least, because Six Flags and other companies have really devalued the brand. Now we are at the back of the park, and this one's a bit interesting. This area is themed to Japan. Lots of countries make movies, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to hit up some of the big ones, as many as I can. There is not a Bollywood ride here. Oh my god. Actually, a triple R ride would go hard. But no, that's not the case here. There's a lot of Japanese film that Universal has its mitts on already. But don't let me go Mr. Snooty on you, because this, in Men in Black's plot, is a Fast and Furious indoor ride. Supercharged is dead. Men in Black, sadly, regrettably, is dead. I love that ride. I love that ride very, 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 very much. But frankly put, this is the space for another thrill ride. An indoor thrill ride themed to Tokyo Drift. One of the more iconic names and things associated to that IP. It's such a tricky one because Fast and Furious makes all the money, and yet nobody has like a good creative answer as to how to get it in here. This is the best I've got. And hang on, what's this down here? Replacing... Actually, I have no idea what's in this spot. Is it the Coca-Cola store? There's like a Coca-Cola tie-in thing? No, that's gone. I'm actually cheating a bit here, and I'm making just a smidge more land. I'm expanding the park in this direction a little bit. Because something that other Universals around the world have is access to a lot of anime. The world of animated film, oh my god, this is the way to bring in a whole different demographic. And meeting us as we enter this pavilion is the king of the monsters himself. It's Godzilla. Can this happen? I'm unsure, but I loved the idea of King Kong and Godzilla at opposite ends of the park, across the lake, looking at each other. I liked it a bit too much. King Kong versus Godzilla, and the battlefield is Universal Studios Florida. You love to see it. Godzilla's having a bit of a Hollywood renaissance. He's no longer a niche figure. You can sell a movie to the American, very young public with Godzilla in the title. That's exciting. He sits atop or maybe behind a giant theater. In fact, maybe what you do is there's a spot in Universal Studios Japan that is sheltered. There's like a glass ceiling over it, and in there is a theater that shows rotating seasonal 4D shows based on various anime IPs. Sailor Moon, Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece. These are big deals. There's a lot of merchandise to be sold there. Hello Kitty, you've been promoted. That's something I always loved about the Japan park, is that there's reasons to come back, there's re-rideability, there's reasons to come back various times during the year to catch the various different shows. Something that Japanese theme parks, or just the leisure sector in general, really favours its photo opportunities. They don't go in so much for rides, but when there is themed entertainment, the main attraction usually is a big photo opportunity. Let's get the Colossal Titan in there. I'm a massive Attack on Titan nerd. This is influencing my bias, but with the remaining section of this, there's potential for a One Piece ride. I'll just say that. There is potential for a One Piece ride. But instead, I think you can actually see I've got Ace's and Whitebeard's grave there. So that can be a little photo opportunity snap. I'm just lifting things from Japan, and it's making me very, very happy. I know this is probably the most contentious part of the park because the anime stuff definitely does betray the theme, but remember, I am trying to walk the balance between film museum and modern, exciting trends to bring people in. And that's why I'm also taking the Attack on Titan ride. Look, Universal built it, not me. They made an Attack on Titan ride, and it exists in the world today. All I'm saying is that we nab it too. Or maybe build a new ride system that doesn't take up too much space. Leave it to One Piece. I don't care. Get out of it. Get out of here. Oh, it's occurring to me that we don't have a live show. We do not have any live entertainment other than parades in this park. Perhaps the anime section, maybe the Attack on Titan ride might have to become a small stage space. I think Animal Actors is around here anyway. Yeah, maybe that stadium can become a Sailor Moon show. I like it. Something that fits the Japan theme. I'm really open to suggestions for the 10 people in my circles who vibe with this shit. Very few of you. Okay, on to the final stretch. This is where the Japan section ends, and that long stretch of Springfield starts. For the record, I would never go around the park in this direction. I would always take a right turn to Terminator, Jason Bourne, and then go visit my good friends, the Simpsons. Simpsons are gone. I don't know if you heard. Disney bought Simpsons in a big way, and that's maybe fine. It had its time. Simpsons the Ride is probably my guilty pleasure. I like it a lot more than the rest of the theme park community does. Instead, you've got a long stretch here. It snakes around the lake, and it's more themes than it has to be. It's a lot of park. It's a lot of real estate. It's not like you can put a roller coaster in here. It's just not enough space. This is a long, winding road. To me, it's a yellow brick road. With the massive runaway hit that was Wicked, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. They have soft rebooted an iconic film image. The sparkling diamond of their catalogue is now, again, the biggest hit ever. Theme this stretch of path like you're walking down the yellow brick road, running into various characters, and maybe like the same way you see Chief Wiggum, Duffman. You are in fact meeting the various characters that tell you the plots of The Wizard of Oz. And I'm thinking quite classical, like the original Technicolor film here, with maybe some of, was it Shiz University? I don't know, I didn't watch that film. Maybe the wicked elements start to bleed in the further down you go, the closer you come to the previous site of the Simpsons ride. Now, let's theme it to the new film. Maybe keep the ride system. Maybe there's something really creative to be done with that space. But it doesn't fit a roller coaster to me. It doesn't fit most kinds of attraction. And it's not big enough for a dark ride. This has to be Wicked's spot. I'm a hater, and even I have to admit that it should be in the park yesterday. All I know is I prefer it much more than Pokemon taking on this spot. I love Pokemon very, very much. I don't think it's applicable to a theme park with limited space for it. I toyed around with the idea briefly of like a nature park, a nature walk. Maybe it's a national park and there are animatronics of Pokemon as the wildlife. That's still quite limited. What does a Pokemon ride look like that isn't Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Stadium? I don't know. Pokemon Snap would also be a really good fit for Fast and Furious, but I'm doing something a bit different. And it would lead you to Japan, I guess, but no, I like the Wicked idea a lot more. I think it's a more appropriate use of the space. Tucked away in this corner is where a little guy named E.T. lives. E.T. Adventure, I am not touching. Even hypothetically, I do not want Steven Spielberg to hate me because of a daydream I had where E.T. was not there. It's a wonderful, beautiful dark ride. I've rebuilt or moved or paid homage to some old Universal rides, but this is really the only main one I'm keeping, as is intact. There since the beginning of the park, and there it should stay. I truly believe that, like everybody else on planet Earth. But what do I do with the rest of the space that DreamWorks currently sits in? It used to be Barney. Well, it was Barney for the longest time, and I missed that purple dinosaur. He was very sweet. As was Mr. George, the Curious. It's a big bit of land, but again, very awkwardly shaped. There's not much you can do here, but I do insist that it should stay a kids area. I'm throwing a couple bones to the kids here, right? They've got this big section. The kids areas should stay kids areas. I let Illumination keep their plots, you know? And that's very out of character for me. And yeah, even in my fantasy version of the park, I want everybody to be having a good time. So take that corner and you will basically see what is currently there, DreamWorks. It's too big. Frankly, Shrek deserves his own theme park area. It's very surprising they never did this. I guess they locked into 4D in the early days, so they never really expanded or had a place to put far, far away. I don't think too far, far away. I think you just make this Shrek Swamp. It's a meet and greet area. There's no real rides back here. I think we keep the dance show because that's largely what I remember a lot of the Shrek movies were. A lot of dance parties with a lot of Smash Mouth, as God intended. And to the right, you could have Madagascar, you could have the bad guys. It doesn't matter too much to me. But I've put Piss and Boots as a placeholder, just because The Last Wish was pretty great, and it looks nice next to Shrek, naturally. You've got a play area there, maybe we keep a kiddie coaster, with a little animatronic Puss in Boots on the front car, wiggling his little sword. Yes please, very cute. And where Curious George once was, I think this is perfect. Kung Fu Panda. Pose Dojo. The training area from the films. It's the perfect setting for a big set piece. Lift it straight from the movies. What was originally here, for anyone who doesn't know, is a play area. A water wet area where you could run around and climb up structures, and there were floors, and it was all very interactive and kid-friendly. Please put in that amount of playfulness, the amount of visual gags, and the amount of fun as that previous area had when it was Curious George. But theme it to a training dojo with an animatronic Poe in the middle. Hell yes. And lastly, as we go back to the entrance, it's been a long day at Universal Studios. We go past all that string of shops, leave them there. The almanac in the window, the merch, the customer help, a restaurant, and our final ride. This one's wanky. I'm not ashamed to say. I have just put Terminator 2 3D back where it belongs. This is possibly the most petty decision I've made so far. Why would you just revert it to the ride before? Isn't that very fan-brained of you? Why not just put Back to the Future back where it was? Listen, I could. Terminator 2 3D has ride footage and an experience co-crafted by James Cameron, who otherwise would just not be in this park. You could put the Titanic in the middle of the lake if you want, but that's pretty bad taste. I've never seen Bourne. I've heard it's absolutely spectacular and maybe even and the tech is insane. Me personally, I think you have to go for the franchise that inspires the most excitement and has contributed the most to film as a whole. And in Universal's case, that would be James Cameron's Terminator 2. This thing is insane. It never aged, and if it did age, updates it. And if it's dated beyond improvement, that's the appeal. The whole park is evergreen now. Your shareholders will thank you later, maybe. And then we leave on that frankly quite strange decision. It's not a park, you will notice, entirely devoted to my nostalgia. I think I walk the line. Most of all, what I've tried to do is have a theme park that can have classic film, encompass Spielberg, Tim Burton, George Lucas, James Cameron, and more, all in the same space. That is an insane lineup, and Universal have it. They've discarded it in the past. Michael Bay is on the list of American auteurs, whether you like it or not. And there he is in the park as well. That's my true priority here, is using the catalogue to represent the real celebrity directors, I guess. Although you don't see them in the park, other than maybe Spielberg or Hitchcock up in the Bates Motel window, their presence is felt. And I think, in my head, that returns me to what excited me about Universal Studios to begin with, was a deep love of movie making. Ride the movies. As ever, thank you if you got this far. This is a little fun side project. More of the good stuff coming real soon. I hope everybody enjoys Epic Universe. I will never get to go. Oh, that's depressing.